have to stand again. Okay, so before we do whatever I want to do, I just want us to jump 3 times because we need to keep our attention spans. Ms. Rogers told us that once you reach 19, your attention span is only the number of minutes that is equal to your age. So if you're 19, it's 19 minutes. So let's hop 3 times. 1. Good. So now, random, but like pheromones, I'll talk about them later, but many of you guys know about it from seeing my presentation outside, can be found in various parts of the body. And the most accessible part I found was the back of your ears. So if you could turn to the next person beside you and tell me what you see. As you can sit down. Okay, so everybody knows what I'm talking about. My presentation is going to be about romantic love, its chemistry and evolution. So, by the way, romantic love is a science. Take a look at all these pictures, like memorize them because love has something to do with all these pictures. So, the first thing you should know about my presentation is I'm talking about a boy and a girl. It is an assumption. So, romantic love. I decided to look at it using 2 perspectives. So, the chemistry and its evolution. In terms of chemistry, romantic love is a drive. So you see the way you're hungry, you're thirsty, that is how it is. That's how it's viewed in terms of... Guys, I'm serious. That's how it's viewed in terms of science. So, and the thing with romantic love is it's so potent that it even overrides those other ones. So it's very deep, as Barbara was saying. The next thing is evolution. So, evolutionary, you know, evolution is basically to ensure continuity of species. So they believe that romantic love is just a process that came about to facilitate reproduction. And secondly, they believe that romantic love is a form of evolution of the mammalian brain system. So human beings are mammals, but we are above the others in one way because we can love. So, romantic love as a strategy for evolution. Evolutionary psychologists believe that because we are social creatures, so we like interacting with each other, we always do activities that will involve us to spend time with each other. Romantic love came about to ensure we reproduce. So romantic love is not, okay, it is, but like, actually, romantic love is just there for you to have children and make sure that our species doesn't die out. The second thing is evolutionary biology. They say that romantic love is an evolved form of the brain system, of the mammalian brain system. And it evolved in 3 ways. So we are mammals. Somewhere I got a question, someone was asking me, does it mean we're no longer mammals? No, we are. But we have evolved, so we're not at the same level. It evolved in 3 phases. The sex drive, courtship attraction, and attachment. The thing you should know about the sex drive is it motivates us to look for somebody, a partner to copulate with. So it's making you to want to find somebody to reproduce with. The second thing about this is the courtship attraction. Now, you want to find somebody, but you need to be sure you have high chances. We're aiming for reproduction here. So, instead of wasting your time on many people, you might as well focus your energy. So that's where attraction comes into play. If you're attracted to somebody, more chances you go after that person. And so when you limit now the scope of people you're looking for to reproduce with, then you have more chances of reproducing. For instance, let's use money in this case. If I have 1,000 rands, I'm a guy in this case, sorry, and I have to spend it on 10 girls and 2 girls, I think I'll have higher chances if I spend it on 2 girls. It's the same thing in terms of energy. Instead of wasting energy trying like animals that just mate with anybody, most animals, you might as well find somebody you're attracted with, save energy, and then attachment. Guys, I'm really very serious. Attachment. Attachment basically is to make sure that this child you guys have brought about is going to survive. There's no need to give birth to children and then they die. So you stay together long enough so that your child can fend off for himself in the future. So from evolutionary perspective, romantic love really is not an eternal thing. It's just to go through these 3 stages. So for chemistry, I don't have fancy diagrams like Linda. I decided I was going to talk about like chemicals I felt were really important. So the first is pheromones. So yeah, you guys were checking for them at the beginning. So pheromones are odorless chemicals and they indicate sexual availability. So they don't have an odor, meaning you can't smell them, doesn't mean they don't exist. Which is why it was very hard to discover them. It was first discovered in animals, but later on it was discovered in human beings. And it's said that pheromones of opposite spins attract. So unconsciously, that's why maybe Medina may be attracted to Teko. But no, this is just assumptions, guys. So, but not attracted to KB, something like that. Okay, so dopamine. Dopamine, it comes with the whole mate preference issue. So I told you have to save energy. So this is one way in which, like, it encourages you to prefer one person over the other. So that's why people don't like all the girls and all the guys don't like all, in that case. Like, dopamine makes you prefer partners. And this experiment was actually carried out on prairie voles. So basically, they injected some of them with dopamine, and they realized that they just preferred some male, they injected the females, and they just preferred some males over other males without even having ever mated with them, just randomly, just because of the dopamine. Oxytocin, it causes a heightened sensitivity to touch. So this one makes you want to stay around the person, huddle, cuddle. It's not allowed in ALA, by the way. So the next one is testosterone. So it increases the sex drive in males and females. Estrogen basically just maintains your secondary sexual characteristics and increases the level of oxytocin. Endorphins, my favorite, they are like happy hormones. They make you feel happy. You release them in the first days. Everything is bright, no flaws, the perfect person. You're happy, warm, inner glow. And then CHR, corticotrophin releasing hormone, is the one you feel sad and you're afraid of separation. It makes you feel sad when you guys are separating. So you're afraid of loneliness and the rest. Now, I want to talk to you guys about love and addiction, but there are many things. So I decided to talk to you guys about dopamine and cocaine because I felt it was a very interesting relationship. So the first thing you should notice about this diagram is this is at a synapse, so between 2 neurons. And basically, dopamine, which is that blue thing up there, is trying to bind it into its receptor, which is the purple thing here. And normally it's like, you know, blocks your younger brothers and sisters play with, they fit. So that's just how it happens. It goes, it fits, finish, everything is perfect. But then, what happens when you take cocaine? Cocaine, by the way, is that ugly yellow thing there. This one. And then this is a receptor. So basically what happens, this is where you release, and this is where you uptake. And it's still at the synapse, so between 2 neurons. What does cocaine do? You can see it's binding. It's binding to the site, meaning 2 things. 1, it follows the same path as dopamine, and 2, it prevents the reuptake of dopamine. So this tells us 2 things, actually. Okay, it tells me 2 things. The first thing is that love is an addiction because its pathway follows a pleasure pathway. A pleasure pathway is basically kind of, in simple terms, anticipation. That's like one word I can use to describe it. Anticipation, you're waiting for something, expectation. And when you're expecting something, you know, when you're waiting for your Christmas gift on Christmas on the 24th, you're so anxious. And then that feeling, that's what dopamine does. Like, that's the path it follows. And this cocaine comes and blocks it. So when you're an addict, really you can't be in love, according to chemistry, Because one, it takes up the part of dopamine. Meaning that's why sometimes when you go to rehab, they tell you, you can't be in relationships. I've not been to rehab, by the way. They tell you, you can't be in relationships and all those things because they are not real. This is kind of a chemical explanation. Okay. So people ask me, why am I studying romantic love? I didn't know until I discovered it had applications. The first one is romantic love and drugs. So some people said, if we know how romantic love works, meaning we can actually decide, oh, I don't want to be in love with this person anymore. So what do I do? And then the idea of drugs came. So there's this possibility of curing lust and attraction. We don't know, maybe now when you're in love, you just take 2 tablets and you'll be fine. But the problem is, the ethics behind it, are we going to play God and decide now we can control these feelings? And also, the brain is not as easy to access. You know, the brain has a lot of protection. It's never easy to send in drugs into the brain. And seeing as we don't know the full functioning of the brain, we don't know what else it might affect. Another thing is hormonal castration. So in California, they decided to try, in part of California, they decided to try this treatment called hormonal castration on pedophiles. So basically, I don't know how it works, but I know its main aim is to reduce sexual drive, together with rehabilitation. And this is what they're trying to use it as an alternative to prison, because they figured there's no use sending a pedophile to prison because you're really not solving the problem. The last thing is antidepressant. Antidepressants actually just are very controversial because what they do is they reduce the level of dopamine. And so by reducing the level of dopamine, you're actually like reducing the probability of people getting into relationships. So it's very controversial as to should they administer these drugs knowing the side effects? Because most of the people that take them don't really know all these complexities of less dopamine, more this and more that. The next thing is commercialization. Guys, I noticed this year Linda received many, many proposals, and I am going to tell you guys why. Hairspray. So, they've been trying to commercialize love, and basically what they did is they claim to have extracted pheromones and put them in perfume. So you can ask Linda because she's been spraying pheromones, I don't know. So yeah, I personally don't think it's true because, okay, I don't think it's true. But now it's selling and it's making money, so entrepreneurship. Romantic love and food. So, Victor, no offense, but this kind of explains Victor's behavior, you guys know. Victor really likes food. But then, it's said that certain foods, including chocolates, very spicy foods, like Thai foods, yassa, jollof, chips, they make you release endorphins. So it gives you that feeling of being in love. So it's like the same. Guys, listen to me, please. Okay, so it gives you that feeling. So you feel like the same thing. That's why sometimes the people that feel depressed eat chocolates, because it releases these hormones, the happy hormone, and you get almost the same feeling. Okay, so we're in African Leadership Academy. Obviously, I had to bring Africa into this issue. So, an anthropological study was carried in 166 societies around the world. This psychologist wanted to find out, is romantic love a Western concept? Because many people always say that. So they carried out in 166 societies, and they used various key behaviors. Most of them included things like accounts from natives, folklores, songs, elopement, the ethnographer's own personal impression of whether there was love there. And when I saw Africa's results, I was happy. It was a 76.9. I was like, yay. And then I saw the rest of the world, and they were at an 89 to 95%. And then I was like, what? Is there no love in Africa? Okay. So I came up with this question. Nobody should get angry with me, please. I came up with my big question. Is love. So, if love is a strategy for evolution, we're just saying ifs here. And if the rate in Africa is relatively low compared to the rest of the world, does it mean that in Africa we're eternally bound to wait for the West or wherever to bring in new strategies for evolution? Are we bound to rely on the West for the rest of our lives? Do we have a justification? And I was talking to Ms. Rogers, and she told me something. She told me, maybe, because you know, if you saw Ola's presentation, after you release pheromones and you get that excitement, it goes more towards contentment. Maybe in Africa, since we have a lower rate of divorce, we've gone more towards contentment. And maybe in the Western world, they are very addicted to that feeling of being in love. So when the feeling like dies out, now you move on to the next person. So higher divorce rates. So I was thinking of this. I'm just assuming, I don't have sources. So I'm just thinking of these two things, and I'm saying, this is something I really want to look into. I don't know when, I don't know how. Thank you. Any questions, please? Curable. Actually, I was talking about this with Yasin, and I was telling him it's evolutionary, so maybe we will evolve with the cyberspace. And I'm thinking maybe in the future, because it requires all this releasing of hormones and the rest, because it assumes physical presence and stuff. Maybe in the future we'll evolve. I don't know how we're going to evolve, but most likely with all the whole internet thing, it won't be as convenient to have all these hormones and proximity and distance. I can't see this far. Stanley. Sorry, I can't see.
Okay, so you say like pheromones are put in deodorants that people use and make other people fall in love with them. So if you earlier mentioned that male and female pheromones have different spins. So are those considerations made when because if I get a female pheromone and I spray it on myself,
we're not exactly sure about the whole male-female thing, but then there are types of pheromones that have opposite spins. I'm not sure about male and female. And by the way they do the perfumes is they extract them from various parts, including like this part I said, and then they amplify them. I really don't know how it goes. I'm not a very big bio person. I don't know a lot, but I know they multiply them. But I'm not exactly sure it's true, because these are commercial companies. Who knows whether they're lying or not? And there's no scientific evidence. I just said now they're able to sell the whole concept. People are desperate.
Yeah, did someone not class?
Tracy.
Okay, you mentioned dopamine and you said that it's the hormone that helps us to be attracted to a single person or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So for those who are attracted to a lot of people, like, no, guys, say you have 1,000 crushes, does that mean you have more than one of those and the dopamine is getting
Okay, so I was explaining at the beginning, and I don't remember saying one. I always said a group, a limited group. So like, I don't believe in the whole one and only person. I believe in one and only group of people. It's like, it's more limited, but it's not really one exact person. If the person dies, what do you do?